Happy Sunday, Rick.
Happy Sunday. You were going to fool our listeners and our viewers in like holding firm like this?
But
And
then
you thought everybody.
I was afraid they would think we weren't doing a podcast, and it's like they would just go like, "Oops, next." Um, what was I going to say? It's snowing out here. I'm out at the house. I'm using my Kit Kat cup again. I got to get a different one because they don't pay us. They're not our sponsor. I shouldn't be giving them the free publicity.
I like it though. It's very nice.
And I got a scarf on, which you asked me about in the green room. Do you know
Yeah,
why I'm
what is that
wearing
about?
it?
No, are you cold?
No, it's not cold, but get ready for the triple chin, baby. Ugh.
Oh, you are working on a third tin. Don't do that, Mark. You,
I'm always trying to hide my chin. It's really difficult.
you don't really wear a scarf around so people can
No,
not
no,
see
not
your
at all.
friction.
But usually it's the angle too because I'm really low. So like if I could adjust the camera to come shoot down, you wouldn't see it. But anyways, it's just
Well,
part
for
of
for
me.
those watching, the microphone's blocking you anyways, and for those listening, they have no idea how sexy or sexy not we are.
No, embrace your chin, people. Embrace your chins.
Yes, embrace your chins. Happy Super Bowl Sunday, although this won't air on Super Bowl Sunday, and we won't have a spoiler alert
Actually, it
because
will air. It's gonna. I'm putting this on
oh,
YouTube when we're done, and then it'll be on iTunes
I just don't
audio.
know your. I just show up for my smartness, and you do the rest. So
But you're
there.
into the Super Bowl. We'll probably watch it. Now, you know that I have mixed feelings about football because 1/3 of all of these players are going to end up with Parkinson's or brain concussions and brain damage. So I'm very ambivalent about uh, what is now pro football as a sport. But we'll probably watch it.
No, there's so much out. I have a friend here locally who's in her mid 20s, and she just had major shoulder I mean, they really rebuilt her whole shoulder because her coaches pushed her as a swimmer through high school. And so I feel the same. I've been reading a lot of stories this week about coaches and what they do to push people in sports. And I agree. I think, yes, definitely the NFL and that whole thing professionally really purports it. But when you go deeper, Mark, the story's there from the time a kid starts to compete in sports when they're 8 years old. I have a problem with it. It's
Yeah.
we push our kids too hard.
We ready?
Yes, go, Mark. First
By the
subject.
way, we
Welcome,
just
everyone.
added a new topic. We added an unexpected way. That was extemporaneous on the
That
NFL
was
Super Bowl.
fantastic.
First topic for Mark on the side dish. We did say Happy Sunday. It seems to be our greeting now because what else is there? But it's the side dish number. We're at number 44. So, anyways, my first topic is Andrew Sullivan stopped blogging. Now, you know the person on the street is not going to know who Andrew Sullivan is. Many people won't. But those of us who appreciate good writing and ideas, I realized recently, well, not recently, but I'm an idea person. I love ideas, and I don't care if I don't agree with them. I don't care if you're like a ultra conservative. I thought William F. Buckley was brilliant, and I miss him. I hate the thought that we've gone from William F. Buckley to Ted Cruz on, as a conservative, which is really sad. But Andrew Sullivan wasn't really left or right. He was quite independent and very, very smart. He had a great writing staff. I read his blog, 4, 5, 6 times a day, and he stopped blogging. And understandably, you get burned out. I don't have nearly the output that he did, but you know me, I've gotten burned out a number of times. But he just is not going to do it anymore. And for me, it leaves a huge void. And I wanted to talk. I just wanted to say that because I'm going to miss that quality of intellect and that quality of idea, because most of the internet, I read it, you read it. I'm not going to lie. I read the Huffington Post. I read Salon. So much of it is just clickbait crap. And so now I'm pretty much down to reading the New York Times and the Washington Post, and I do check the other sites out. But maybe it will force me to look at other sources too, because there's a woman named Maria Popova who puts out Brain Pickings, which is an astonishingly fabulous blog. So they're out there, and I'm going to have to find them. But I will miss Andrew, and he was a frequent target of what we talked about last week. The folks I refer to as the gay
The
piranha.
piranha.
They
Yeah.
hated him
Yeah.
because they thought he was a conservative and he didn't toe the left gay party line at all, and so they hated him, and he got attacked a lot. So I mean, maybe he got tired of that crap too. So, anyways,
Well, you know what's
Andrew, I'm going to
interesting
miss you.
about. Well, I was going to tell you though, Mark. You can always look up his stuff on archive. But what's interesting about a blogger versus a journalist, and they're one and the same of sorts, but it's a different medium. Um, like stories go down historically. You can read them in an archive, whether it's a news story, whatever. And you can do that. But when it's blogging, what's so fun about a blogger is it's current, it's relevant. the emotion attached to what you're reading. Yeah, it can be a time capsule 15 years ago. You can see what he was blogging about in an archive and say, oh, wow, that was the hot button 15 years ago. But moreover, bloggers, just like you said, it's a sense of thinking in the moment and responding to things as they go, which helps us make changes in the world as we go toward the next 15 years. So I agree.
The analysis was amazing. I mean, the analysis was often deep and well thought out. And so for me, it's a big void. So.
It's interesting too. My topic kind of can tie in there with you talk about BuzzFeed. You talk about it. I looked at Yahoo News, the number one news delivery. It knocked down HuffPost December of 2014, I think, or maybe sooner, and it's held number one for some time. But there's BuzzFeed actually hired this. When you look at these up and coming, I read a story about, because I'm one of my subjects in a little bit here is going to be about the DL and about trade and about the black community and how we respond to homosexuality. And so I was reading a story about the 20 most powerful up-and-coming black folks, in light of Selma, in light of Ferguson. There's some voices out there. One of them is a young woman, I think she's marked early 20s, who they've hired at BuzzFeed to run their news division. And I think you're going to see a lot of changes there. One of the stories I read about her is very, very powerful. It makes me talk about my first subject here, which is misgendering, transgendering, cisgendering, and all these gendering words that have come up over the last year that we've really started to make this year about transgender and for people to really start to understand it. I think a lot, I'm saying you and I kind of made a commitment a couple of years ago to start the conversation. So,
it's just, that's like you bring that up every single week.
Well, I think it's so important that, we didn't, honestly, it would have been there. The president's talking about transgender. You're seeing TV shows of transgender. But the truth is we made that commitment. And I think whoever it is has to make a commitment to start to understand things when they don't understand. But now, in fear of, whatever, I think it's overboard. Do I need to? So cisgender, for those that don't know, it's spelled CIS, and it's basically someone that's born in their gender. And it's important to the transgender community because we have to understand when we're born into our gender or we've been born, with the wrong gender. So there's all these movements of people defining themselves and others as cisgender. And then I saw a thing the other day, Mark, I was telling you this article on BuzzFeed actually about misgender. There's a whole discussion about a young life that was taken. A person named Sherman Edwards, 20 years old, January 9th, died. And BuzzFeed did the story of it. When he died, he was wearing long hair and women's clothing. So they purported it to be a transgender woman's death. Sherman's family, I'm being very sensitive here, but Sherman's family came out and said he was a homosexual man. And no matter what, his life is gone, motherfuckers. His life is gone. Do we have to argue after the fact whether it was transgender, cisgender, misgender, drag queen? Some people say on Facebook he had a name called Lamar Mirage. And so there's argument about that. And BuzzFeed took this whole thing on and investigated the police that were involved and on and on and on. And I'm just not sure it's worth the time. A life is a life. And which makes me think, yes, I may be cisgender. My friend Kylie might be transgender woman, but we're all the same. And so one other thing, I read an article, an interview actually with a guy named Sam Killerman, who identifies himself, I wrote this down there, as a white, straight, cisgender male ally. And he said that the hate he gets, you'll appreciate this, having just talked about the piranhas that are out there, the hate that he gets from those on the far left and far right is all the same. Then on the far right, they're saying, you're a man, you shouldn't care about gender, you're straight, you shouldn't care about sexuality, you're cisgendered, you shouldn't care about gender in the binary or the non-binary or queer sense. And he says those comments that are coming from the strict right are the same comments he hears from the strict left about why are you even involved? Why are you getting involved? Let us fight our own fight. I give up. People are people. Let them be. Don't label people, folks.
Right, and because this is kind of a huge topic, I have to talk about it too.
Please.
I am, but I will tread lightly because I have trans friends, cisgender, and I have trans contributors. Cisgender is, I understand it now, and it's not a term that I will ever apply to myself. I simply won't. But I understand it because just like gay people, there's been straight and gay for decades. It's
right.
Like we refer to non-gay people as straight. I don't really do that a lot anymore because, like you, I really have adopted a much more of a view that we're all human beings. In the end, we're all human beings. And it's not helpful to me, and I'm not interested in further fragmenting myself. I'm gay, I'm a male, I'm cisgender, I'm this. I've got, it's like enough already. I just want to be a unified human being, and that's how I look at other people. To me, I've always believed that these labels are for the benefit of other people. I don't call myself a gay man for my benefit. I call it for the benefit of somebody who needs that to envision me, to understand me.
Mm-hmm.
So cisgender is a term. Cis, C-I-S, it's the opposite of trans, whether it's Greek or Latin. But it's a form of straight. It's the new straight, because we don't ever think twice about calling somebody straight. So that's where it's coming from. What I don't like is that I've seen it being used pejoratively, and I don't like that. I don't refer to straight people as straight in a negative, pejorative way. I'm not insulting you. But I have seen it taking on that tone in some places, like cis privilege and cisplaining, and it's being used as an insult. And I'm not down with that at all, in the least. Mm-hmm. If you want to call me gay, straight, cis, whatever you want to call me, that's fine. But if you're going to use it as an insult, I'm not down with it,
Well, and I want to add to that too. It's an interesting story. I talked about the first person, this death that happened in Kentucky. I then read an article from this transgender gal. She's a young high schooler who's, I think, not transitioned yet, but going through her process in Kentucky. And she wrote it. She said, here I am in Louisville, the same city that this kid was killed in. And I go to the bathroom in my school, in a bathroom that I need to be in, the women's restroom. It takes me 2 minutes and I'm out. She said, my day is about everything beyond those 2 minutes. I'm just taking a fucking leak, those weren't her words, but then she said an hour down the road in Frankfurt, they're arguing this thing that they're calling the Kentucky Student Privacy Act or the Kentucky Student Protection Act, where they're saying in the state of Kentucky that unless you were born in that gender, you can never use the bathroom of that gender. They're getting that specific mark, and they're saying we will build unisex bathrooms for those people, or they can use the faculty bathrooms, transgender kids can, which totally signals these kids out. So I loved her comment. She's like, I just got to take a whiz. I don't care where. It's a small part of my day. Yeah. This is who I am.
And I don't really care who's in the men's room with me. I don't understand I just don't get the obsession with bathrooms. I don't care if a trans man comes into the bathroom with me. I don't care if a woman comes. I really don't give a shit.
Yeah, and then this whole argument at these liberal arts schools 20 years ago going co-ed in their bathrooms and letting straight men and straight women, or who they thought were straight men and women, piss together and shower together. So now why are we going to have this whole argument over it? I agree. The whole thing is just, we've gone too far.
One last comment before the ding ding. This, because it applies to this. It's been like 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe. There was I was in some comment section and somebody who identified as genderqueer, and I said something, and this person called me like a binary dinosaur. And I thought, I'm done. I'm just done with this shit. It's like, it comes from academia, from queer academia. I've never been into queer theory. I've had my issues with the word queer anyways, which I use now. I'm okay with it now. But it's like, I don't want that. To me, it's just a lot of airy theoretical bullshit.
I agree.
Like, find something much more significant to do with your mind time. And if I'm binary, I don't give a fuck, man. I am what I am.
That's a whole lot, because I don't even know what that's all about.
No, binary. It's the male, female, heterosexual, homosexual. But I was being called a binary relic, and I'm like, okay, goodbye. I don't think that. I don't think that was too provocative, though.
No, that one got me. So where? No, I love it. We could go. Yeah, we could.
But we can't, dude. We got to watch the time, and we got to not ramble.
So we haven't even talked about Bruce Gender as it relates to this subject.
Bruce
but
Jenner,
go ahead.
No, because we don't know until Bruce.
I just call them Bruce Gender. I call them Bruce Gender.
Rick, now we just lost a bunch of.
Go ahead. Kim Kardashian just tuned out, did she?
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, I was going to say,
Bye-bye.
until Bruce Jenner needs to identify as trans, I will not identify him for him. I won't.
No, we have no right to do that. I'm going to nix one of my subjects, because I just want to comment on this. I know we're going a little long, but I'll nix one of my subjects, move to next week. But here's the deal. You're right. So what happened was the end of December, it was January cover of In Touch magazine. They superimposed his face over Stephanie Beacham's face from Dynasty.
I know.
How ridiculous. They sold it as a bill of goods to the American public. I posted on my Facebook to hear people's comments. My own friends who are smart and wise and beautiful and accepting, just their comments just freak me out. It's like, because they don't understand it. They're still confused. And it was the wrong thing to do.
Well,
and whether it's going to be a publicity stunt by that family or not, I don't know where he's at. I don't really care.
These are tabloids. These are the kinds of people who said that Carol Burnett was drunk at some party and she sued him and won. I mean, it's garbage. Mm-hmm. Who the fuck takes these tabloids seriously? But it was a horrible thing to do. Absolutely.
Yeah, but what happens if all of a sudden the Kardashians, because he's doing a TV series, they are going to follow him. I think it's called The Journey or something. What if they're just setting this whole thing up just to, I don't know, it'd be interesting to see if he's doing it just to do it or if he really is. I don't know. At this point, I don't care.
I don't know. Right. I was going to say at this point. Hillary v. Jeb. I'm checking the time here. We're at 16.
Bush Clinton, big one. Yeah, back to the old days.
Back to the dynasties. But I hope it's Jeb because honestly, if there's going to be a Republican president, which is very possible, I hope it's Jeb Bush. And I always have to qualify it and say I'm a progressive and blah 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 blah. But if there were a Republican candidate that I respected, I would not just consider what's going to happen if they control the entire government. God damn it, I want to once in my life. I don't want to die having never fucking voted my conscience. So if there's a Republican candidate who I prefer over Hillary Clinton, I will seriously consider it because it's my life. It's I've got so many years left. And I don't want to always pull the Democratic lever because I have to.
Well, I'm going to weigh in on that a little bit. Two things came to light for me this week. One is the polls that came out yesterday. I don't know if you saw, do not show Jeb Bush ahead. It was a Bloomberg poll. I guess it's just a poll in Iowa. It was taken yesterday, but it was over the course of Monday through Thursday. So it was still, part of it was, what's his name was still in the race. And part of it was, what's his name? Romney was still in contention. Romney fared third. Second was out of Kentucky, Rand Paul. And you know who number one was? And that's
Ted Cruz.
Gaining four percentage points since the last survey, Scott Walker.
Oh my God! See, no, that I will definitely not. That's a non-starter for me because he's a wretched human being. But I like Jeb Bush. I happen to like Jeb Bush, and
I know it'll be interesting. And then the second thing was as it relates to, that's a hard one. Is Walker's friends with my brother and being from Wisconsin. He's traveling all over. He was with the two Kochs. Is their last name Koch or Koch? The brothers. Koch?
No, the Koch brothers. It's Koch. It's like
Koch. Yeah. Well, they're Kochs. But anyway, he was out with them. Speaking of California, gaining momentum. You watch. I think he's going to come on the rise. But it kind of sucks for Paul Ryan, although I'm not a Ryan fan. Again, another friend of the family. He kind of, by choosing to align himself with Romney, knocked himself out of any contention to be a president, especially when it's two guys from the same state, from the same party, from the same conservative motherfucking background. Oh boy, we're swearing a lot today.
It's explicit. We're most of these are going to be explicit on iTunes.
Anyway, and we do get worked up about these issues. But I had a friend that I was talking to that I do respect, and she had done a campaign event for Hillary last year, Hillary was helping campaign for someone else and was speaking, and she said Hillary was, you hear it all the time, the B word. Not nice to her, wanted her Perrier, very specific about what she did. And
so many people in power and celebrity are. It's not a big deal. I'm never surprised anymore to find out that because they get used to being catered to constantly.
They're always busy, and that's what I tried arguing. But she said, nope, people can be nice, Rick. There's a lot of people in this world that have power and are nice. Anyway, a whole nother thing there. Bing, bing, bing. I want to talk about the DL. That's my last subject.
Make it quick because we're at the 19-something.
No, I'm going to make it really quick. I'm just going to read a quote. For those that haven't been watching, we're talking a lot about Dynasty today. Empire on Fox. It's been Fox's most successful show in many years, created by Lee Daniels, the gentleman that brought us The Butler, and brought us a great movie, come on, Mark, but the big girl that with AIDS and HIV. Precious. So he's doing TV, and he did the whole storyline. It's all about the son. It's all about a dynasty of hip hop music, and Terrence Howard plays the dad, a very homophobic dad, and who has a son that's coming out. And he did it for the reason, he said, when he was exploring AIDS in 2009, getting ready for Precious, he went into the New York AIDS Alliance or plant, whatever project, expected to see all these people, and he saw black women and black children that were, infected with the disease, which made him understood the whole idea of the DL in trade. And so I'm going to just read his quote. We'll talk about it more because it's my new mission, Mark, is to really living in a community where there's a lot of it going on here in the South in Shreveport, and having it affected the life of one of my dear friends, Mario, who was coming out as a young black man at 22 years old. At that time, he had a white fiancee woman, went to school in Baton Rouge, and now he is out and confident and protective of himself and saving the lives of women because of his behaviors and changes in his life. I want to take this topic on, and we'll talk more about it. But anyway, here's the quote. Homophobia is rampant in the African-American community, and men are on the DL, said Daniels. They don't come out because your priest says, your pastor says, your mama says, your next door neighbor says, and your homie says, and your brother and your boss say that homosexuality is wrong. And they are killing African-American women. They are killing our women. So I wanted to blow the lid off more on homophobia in our community, he said, and that's what he's doing with the TV series Empire, if you haven't seen it.
We can take it up again. Will you email me that, because I want to use it for the weekly red lines for my quote?
The quote, yeah, that's good. I will. The quote's great, and there's stories out there about it. But anyway, ding, ding, ding.
Ding, 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 everybody. Very quickly, my first audio book, Murder at Pride Lodge, is out on audible.com and iTunes. And I'm going to the White House. I mentioned it last week. We'll definitely talk about this afterwards. But I'm going to the White House as an invitee for the LGBT Elder Housing Summit. That's it.
That's great. And if you want to comment or write to us, write to editor@lgbtsr.com.
.org, dude. .org for 4 years.
Com will get you there too. Okay.
No, com will get you to the website. Editor@lgbtsr.com is going nowhere. It's an email address.
I stand corrected.
Bye.
Confident that I'm not on the DL, dude.
Good luck with your voice. I will pray for you. Ciao.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.